Welcome to Setting the Table, hosted by Robin B., where we bring you the insider's scoop from top restaurateurs, industry experts, and creative minds who know what it takes to stand out and succeed. Hungry for insights on how to fuel your growth and stay ahead of the curve? You've just found your secret ingredient.
Hi, everybody. Robin B. here. Today in Setting the Table, we're joined by guest Lisa Stevens. She's a seasoned commercial insurance producer for over 24 years with experience in the hospitality industry. Currently, she's serving as a commercial producer at Greystone Insurance Group, which is a Texas-based agency specializing in high-risk industries. Lisa's extensive knowledge in risk and safety prevention has made her especially valuable in the hospitality sector. She works closely with restaurants, bars, and live music venues. So she is able to help her clients really understand what they need as far as insurance and what they don't, just with the huge depth of knowledge she has in the industry. So her clients stretch across the U.S., but she has a ton here in Texas. But all the things that she'll be sharing with us today are applicable across the U.S. So we're going to talk about insurance coverage. We're going to talk about common mistakes, some things that you might need to know if you have to file a claim, and maybe some new things that you should carry insurance for, like cyber threats. So welcome, Lisa. I'm so happy to have you on the call. And yeah, thanks for being here.
This is the only way we get to see each other now is through a podcast.
True that. So I want to start off, Lisa, with you just telling us a little bit about your background, maybe a minute pitch of who you are, what you do, and why you do it.
Well, thank you. Actually, my background is I'm a retired professional choreographer and had a 20-some year professional dance career. And I retired gracefully before the anterior cruciate and the back went, and I didn't want to have hip replacement. So I started learning insurance about 24 years ago. Did continue to dance, but I knew better. So I pulled it back. I started in PEO in 2000, which is HR outsourcing, including workers' comp and health and life health and all the voluntary products. That's what I started in and branched out and started a partnership with Preferred Restaurant Services out of Dallas. We were all full turnkey restaurant consultants. My specialty has always been restaurants, bars, hotels, music events, very hard to insure, by the way. So that's been my background. I learned from the best consultants in the United States. I'm very grateful for that education with them, 11 years. And I've been through a lot. I've been through a lot of hurricanes, tornadoes, various weather anomalies. Every year is different with the carriers. They are changing. So it's been quite a education along the way. But I think my purpose to be on here today is to help you restaurant bar operators, forecast for what's happening right now in the next 3 to 4 years, what I think's coming down, quite frankly. And I'm here based in Houston, and I'm a great resource for anyone that, needs extra advisement on how to do insurance. So
perfect. Well, thank you. I'm so glad you're here with us. I think you're going to provide some really valuable insight into why restaurateurs need to carry certain insurances, what they should be looking for, do's, don'ts, all that good stuff. So maybe let's start off with what are the crucial insurance policies that restaurants really should be doing today?
The key basic insurance coverages that you really you have to carry is general liability. That's going to be your biggest exposure for any restaurant, bar, hotel, event center. With that, the side tag is liquor liability. Okay, that's all written together. It includes or excludes one of the two, assault and battery. Number 2, property. Property is all your content value. If you own the building, definitely you have to have property coverage. If you're a tenant, that's going to be a requirement. Got to have property coverage, or you should have property coverage. Cyber insurance is kind of the new trend right now to add because of all the cyber hacking that we have going on and all the banks that are having cyber attacks. A lot of times cyber, you've got X amount of coverage in with your GL coverage, Robin. That's something a lot of times the carriers are embedding and including. It's generally not enough. But cyber is the new threat. The other coverage I'd like for you to take is workers' comp. It's not mandatory in the state of Texas. The entire U.S. requires comp. Texas is the last Billy Bob state that does not require workers' comp. So employers here can choose to self-insure. But if you're going to self-insure, you better have an interest-bearing account ready to pay those employees' claims when they get hurt, because they can sue you directly if they're injured. If they find gross negligence, you're going to write a big check for their hospital bills and their lost wages. So workers' comp is not mandatory, but you really should carry it. Southern states, flood insurance. Actually, not southern states, the whole country. Look at your area, like Robin, like you said earlier. Flood insurance is imperative if you're in a flood zone. So get with your agent and let's look at where you are and just see the quotes. A lot of the quotes are not that outrageous. We know the carriers. I know personally the carriers to go directly to get you the best rates. So that's GL, property. Cyber is a part of GL, just so you know, Robin. Workers' comp, flood. The last thing is a lot of landlords are going to require umbrella insurance that sits over the top of your GL, your liquor liability, your workers' comp. Some landlords will require hired and non-owned automobile coverage. That is where you let your employees go out and run an errand. Let's say they're going to go to Office Depot or they're going to run out and get food for you all. If it's during work hours and it's a bad accident that happens and it's your employee, that can come back to you. That is a separate coverage. It's called hired and non-owned automobile coverage. Sometimes that's required in lease agreements.
Really, there's certain general ones, but a lot of it has to do with your landlord. You need to look through your lease. You need to make sure you share your lease with whoever your
Correct.
insurance agent is, correct?
Right. And if you are the landlord, then I would personally, advise them what I recommend. But ultimately, a landlord can choose what they want and what they don't carry. But if their tenant defaults and they don't carry this insurance, GL claims go directly through the through the restaurant owner or operator to the landlord. So the landlord is always exposed as well to these claims.
How does insurance needs change with the higher risk establishments like the bars or the live music entertainment venues? Like, are those kind of have a higher risk element
Correct.
to them because
Yes.
of alcohol or whatnot? So, like, what's kind of the thing to keep in mind on those higher risk type of establishments?
If a restaurant, let's take a Mexican restaurant concept, is running 30% alcohol, 70% food, I can get them in an admitted market. An admitted market means it is insured by the state. If that carrier goes insolvent, the state will step in and cover the claim. Those are your big carriers, those big household names that you know, like Travelers, Hartford, CNA, Hanover. These are big, A+ rated admitted carriers. When we get into over 40% liquor, we go to excess surplus lines. Those are not insured by the state. They are not covered by the state, say Texas, for example. But my agency, Greystone, we only deal with A+ rated E&S. We call that's excess surplus. Those are high risk carriers. And any bar over 50%, you're going E&S. I'm sorry. And what that's going to entail is a little higher rates, sometimes a lot higher rates, depending your level of risk. If you're doing axe throwing, you're going to go triple E&S, and it's going to be expensive. So, I want you to know that if you're 100% or 90% bar, you're going to go triple E&S, and it's going to be a higher rate, and there's going to be a little less coverage. Just that there's just nowhere on the planet we can do better, except I know some things to recommend to help your rate. So if you'll hang with me.
You brought up something kind of interesting is like, do all restaurant and bars and venues report what their extracurricular activity type stuff at the restaurant or bar is? So are they telling you that they're throwing, they have a axe throwing wall?
Well, this last couple of years, I've actually had the axe throwing clients call me as dead calling prospects. And believe it or not, those are here in Houston. They're here. They're all over the country. They build metal steel lanes with cages. They really do a good job. The good operators do a good job. But keep in mind, anyone that applies for insurance has to complete an ACORD application. You have to, and specifically an application for your exact risk. So we help you fill those apps out. The clients need to sign them because that is what holds up in court. So they, if they lie
So if they're
on it,
not reporting it, their insurance will
if they're
not
not
cover it.
reporting the truth, I will tell you without question, this will come back and haunt you. Because if you didn't report that you've got a back room with axe throwing, or you're really secretly doing a back room of some sort of throwing darts even, that's another bad one. You don't report that, or you're, doing events out front that, they don't like barbecue grills and things outside with flames. If you're not reporting that, or if you're offering and selling hookah and you're not declaring that, let me tell you what happens. First of all, there's an inspection that happens 15 to 30 days. We never know. They don't tell us, the agents, when they're going. So they have a surprise inspection. And if you have a claim, they're going to look at all your social media operators. They're going to look at all your social media, especially Google reviews. They're going to see what's on there. What have people posted? Are they doing 360-degree videos of 20 people doing shots? Are they showing that your restaurant or bar is crazy and wild? It catches up to you. And then what happens? You get a real honest, genuine GL claim. They're not going to pay your claim because you lied on the apps. Okay, so I hope people are watching, because I try to protect my clients. I really do try to protect them as best possible. But ultimately, the applications are what go to court.
Yeah.
It's
So
illegal.
really important to be
Yes.
truthful and all inclusive on those. So what
If you
are
want
some of
their
the,
claims, not only do they not pay the claims, they'll cancel the client. And then we find it impossible to go get the client a new insurance policy because there's some crazy claim on their record. So risk and safety is another huge topic and subject I might want to expound on at some point.
yeah.
I'll
So
let you keep
what are
going.
some other, like, what are the big, besides not being divulging everything on your forms of, I guess, on intake, what other big mistakes, common mistakes do you see happening from the point of view of restaurants, bars, and entertainment venues when getting insurance?
Well, not listening to good advice. Number one, thinking they can get away with not insuring correctly what the landlord requests, because that will catch up with them too. But those are two issues. And the other big mistake is not allocating enough funds in their budget for the cost of insurance. Because if you've taken your life savings or cashed it in a 401k or some incredible stocks or family money to create this beautiful establishment. And then you cut corners and you don't insure correctly. And then the Holy Grail. I just had it happen last Thursday. The Holy Grail claim hits. And I just had it, a shooting at a bar at a Mexican restaurant. I won't say where. Two guys fought. Security got them outside. One of the gentlemen, they thought it was fine. One of the guys went to the car, got a gun, shot at the other gentleman that he was after, hit an innocent girl in a car. She is now 5 days in ICU with a spinal injury. That's one of my clients. Okay, this happens. And when you don't insure correctly, how are you going to pay for that? Because that's going to pass $1 million per occurrence. That could pierce the aggregate of 2 million. So I've had 3 really bad claims like this year. So operators not preparing and being aware of this. And the other thing is risk and safety, really having their ducks together on training their staff properly, training the bartenders, making sure they cut people off that are too drunk early, not late. Have a Uber plan for your patrons, and a car pickup the next day plan. Operators don't plan for this. And make risk and safety part of a staff's employment. It needs to be backed up in the handbook. I'm a big advocate of that. Risk and safety, wearing the proper non-slip shoes and all of that, and that it needs to be backed up in the handbook. A lot of operators don't take that seriously either.
That's great advice. That's great advice. That handbook, or also just showing that you have established those processes, I'm sure stands up for something if there is a claim, right? And you can say, hey, we have these processes. This employee just chose to ignore that.
That is in an insurance submission, I have to get not only I don't care if it's an operator that's been in business 20 years. I need a bio. I need a bio/resume on chefs, GMs. We have to build a case that this is a really good, safe operator. I have to have their safety manual. Their HR manual also helps a lot. All of this goes in to an insurance submission. So a lot of my prospects want to fall over and die when I ask them for this checklist. But I'm saying, do you want to pay a reasonable rate, or do you want to pay an insanely high rate? Okay, we got to do some work, or this rate's going to be crazy, especially for my new operators.
Well, and I'm assuming like some of these things that you put in place, hand guides or safety and sort of, I guess, acceptable protocol for dealing with potentially drunk patrons or whatnot. Can't put your hands on them. You can't push them out the door. You got to be careful what you say, because those are the things that if there is a claim, they come back, correct?
Right. Yes. And I had exactly a bad situation. Glad you touched on that. I have a security company in another state that lovely people, 40 guards. This happened to them. This could happen to any restaurant you're handling right now, Robin. The security guard, it was a restaurant bar. 2 or 3 broke out in a horrific girl fight. I'm not kidding. Fist fight, drinking related tragedy, of course. The security guard tried to calm the girls down, de-escalate the situation. The girl started fists going on him, and she was a big girl and she was hurting him. So he backed her up into the wall and he just pressed her chest. His hand went up around her collarbone. She filed a lawsuit on him, said that he strangled her, and the video was questionable, but he was trying to stop her fists. I just want you to know that girl sued the restaurant, the bar, even with all the video cameras that were placed correctly on the whole situation. My client is going to have to pay a huge GL claim. She also sued the bar. So the bar owner got sued. The security guard company got sued, and the landlord got sued. All 3. So Do you see why general liability and liquor liability, and that fell into the assault and battery category? And my client had 5 years of perfect loss runs. And now the rates are so high, they quadruple because of this
Wow.
situation.
That's tough.
So that involved a bar restaurant. So, yes.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I think that story brought it to life, didn't it?
Yes.
So also
That's
there's
what that's
another,
what I'm here to do.
yeah, and you're doing a good job of it. Um, so also I know that you talked a little bit or touched on this at some point about business interruption insurance.
Oh,
I think
yes.
that's something that you have said a lot of restaurants and bars are not choosing to use, but that there is a time and a place where you really need it. And so I thought maybe you could touch on that.
So business interruption is embedded in your property coverage. So it is a line item in your property, in your application questionnaire. You what you need to do is kind of take your total insured values, and that number includes your revenue, uh, your um, your signage, your estimated sales, basically, and maybe your content value. And then I take a percent of that. And I don't want to give it an exact percent, but I kind of give my clients a recommendation. But that business interruption, and it has to be declared on your property. If you do not give it a value number, you will not get this coverage. This is in the event we have a tornado or a hurricane and they're shut down for like 2 weeks, which happens, in Houston at least every year.
Well, and I know we're talking about natural disasters, but your refrigerator breaks down, right? And you lose all your food and you can't replace it. So you have to close shop and there's other things outside of natural disasters.
Yeah,
Yep.
broken pipes, a bad break-in, a fire. Let's talk about fire. Holy
Yeah.
smokes.
Yeah.
Okay, that could be 6 months shut down. So what business interruption covers is lost revenue. And it also will help the restaurant operator pay for monthly bills because your rent doesn't go away and your insurance payment doesn't go away. I'm so sorry. And your key employees. You want to keep them whole. They've got children. They're trying to survive and they don't have employment. And if it's a natural disaster like a hurricane, they may not be able to go anywhere else. So, especially when we have flashing red lights for 2 weeks, 2 to 3 weeks, and the mayor of our city is saying don't go out, because it's dangerous. There's down power lines. So business interruption to me is critical. You can lean it out a little. If your budget is so tight, you can lean it out. But I recommend at least 3 to 4 months of business, enough to survive, to keep yourself, keep the establishment going for repairs or whatever you need, uh, until you can get reopened. Because that's a big deal. It really is a big deal.
Yeah, it's good advice. It's good advice.
Yeah.
Okay, so just to kind of turn to a different topic. So some restaurants they use delivery drivers, and I know you talked a little bit about automobile and covering them when they're out. But what about like when they're using a third party platform? Should they be thinking of insurance for that, or is that kind of taken care of by those insurance platforms like DoorDash?
I would require that the driver and that the company that you partner with shows you proof of their coverage, their insurance. You can go as far as asking them to add you to their policy,
As
because
additionally insured?
as
Is
an
that what you?
additional insured, because if there is that, and I've had this claim, the moldable car pileup out on 610, and I've had a death, or even if it's just severe injury where the passenger can't work for several days, they're going to get desperate, start looking for where they can get money. They've lost income. They can't pay their hospital bills. Their health insurance is lapsed. So these kind of things come back to the restaurant or bar owner. So,
Right. So
yeah,
maybe the thing to just bring this to attention of restaurant and bar owners is that make sure you're looking at your contracts with third-party services. Make sure
Right.
that you are either called out as not responsible and they can't come back, and still, even then, make sure that you see their insurance and that you are called out as additionally insured, just to
Exactly.
put that nail in the coffin that that's not going to come back to bite you.
Right. If they decide to deliver themselves, we can get that's a whole different category, but they probably should get commercial auto insurance if they have like a van or something, if they do catering. So they need separate commercial auto. If they're letting their employees go out and do any kind of errands, we really need to add the hired and non-owned. We need to check that box under the general liability policy.
Yeah, that
So,
includes, I mean, one of the things I encourage my clients to do is to get involved in the community. Go do events, sampling events that you can do that. Well, if you are sending your employees or you're going, then you need to make sure that they're covered. So if something were to happen at that event, you're not in a situation where you don't have coverage for that.
right, right.
Okay. So what advice would you give owners trying to budget for insurance? Like, how much should they budget? And, if they're really tight, where can they cut corners or where can they make trade-offs?
Well, and I want to just be transparent and honest that the insurance market right now is extremely hard. That means rates are high, and look at the news. You see all the weather anomalies the last 3 years, especially. So reinsurance has been eroded, and until we get those levels back whole again, our rates are going to be on the high side. And it's property. It's the property section of your policy, of your full PNC. That is where all of the states are in trouble right now. And so best thing I recommend is, if you've got a budget, I can't give a budget or an estimate. Every client is different, and their rate depends on their years of experience, their zip code, literally their GPS. Are they in a flood zone? There's so many factors that go into an insurance rate popping out the other end. It's impossible for me to estimate. That's the number one thing everybody wants me to do. Give me a ballpark. Well, I can't. It's like a cake until we throw all the ingredients in: nuts, chocolate, eggs, everything. I can't, until it bakes out, I can't give you a number. But you guys, the industry, restaurant, hospitality industry, you need to tighten the reins. I can help you with reducing your limits a little bit, pushing deductibles up, making a few cuts, but you're going to need to put money back in an interest-bearing account to be able to help subsidize a high deductible. That's one idea. And you're going to have to self-protect and really get your risk and safety plan down. You've got to make a GL claim next to impossible. And your camera placement in your restaurant and in front of your restaurant and behind your restaurant, especially over the dumpster. These are things you've got to really do your due diligence and get in place, because that catches so much and will stop a lot of your fraudulent claims. And your in-house employees will do a lot of your fraudulent claims, by the way. Stealing food, stealing liquor, sending a buddy to go pick up a bag that they throw out as trash in the back. There's just so much that's going on, but operators need to self-protect and realize that they're not going to get out of carrying this type of insurance. It's a landlord requirement. I am so sorry. And if you don't like it, you can try to negotiate with them. I'm happy to get on calls with landlords. I've done that as well, where we can together, maybe lean out some of the requirements, let the client self-insure.
I mean, I think that's good advice on the self-insure part. I think it's also really good advice on making sure you're buttoning up your internal processes to, have like insurance or security cameras up, to
Yeah.
be looking at those and making sure that you don't have fraudulent things happening. Unfortunately, nobody wants to
Right.
think anyone will do that. And unfortunately, it happens quite a bit, right?
I have work coming out of a full turnkey consulting firm is make your staff part of the um, protection protection team. Make your get your staff to buy in on this. We've got to reduce general liability claims. We have to reduce liquor liability. So the wait staff needs to be TABC certified, or whatever state that is, the Alcohol Beverage Committee. They need to have that certification so they know when to cut a patron off. They need to report it to the bartender, and the head GM needs to be reported everywhere. So they collectively, as a team, they work together to make it a pleasant experience for the patron to maybe get his keys from him, get a friend to take him home, um, and and be positive. But let's self protect on these claims. The silly claims are the other claims are the fraudulent, the people that come in that are making a living off of erroneous, fraudulent insurance claims. That's going on right now all over the country. I always tell my patrons, my prospects and clients, put a security camera by the bathrooms on the hall there. There's a lot of fraudulent slip and falls there because people assume there are no cameras. You can't put a camera in the restroom, but you can go in, in the hallway, in and out. Work together with your staff, get a game plan so that you stop this. Because if not, the restaurant will close and they won't have a job. I would tell them that because that's a fact. So that's really what I recommend.
Very good. Lisa, thanks so much. I feel like you've given a wealth of knowledge about the insurance industry for restaurants and bars, and hospitality in general. Obviously, there's so much information to touch on for this particular topic. So, we might see if we get comments or questions. So if you're watching, please feel free to comment on anything you would like to know about, and we can try to address that in a future episode. Otherwise, though, I want to give Lisa opportunity to just tell us where we can find her, or you can find her if you're interested in working with Lisa. And so can you just give us sort of
Yeah.
a contact information?
Yeah. So I am a senior commercial insurance producer at Greystone Insurance. The mothership is Austin. We have a incredible state-of-the-art agency. We're spread out across the United States, and it's just an amazing. I've had an amazing run with this group. The search engine is so amazing for this agency. I'm getting calls every day from East Coast, West Coast, even Europe, Robin, and I can insure some Europe-based operations. There's a few things. I do have clients in Europe as well. Um, we right now are on fire for especially excess surplus, higher risk lines. I can write anything from A to Z. I can insure underwater basket weaving. I don't care what you got, but just know that restaurants, bars, hotels, events, security guards, CBD. I'm a CBD expert. Who knew? Now I am. Multifamily apartments. These poor apartment owners, they are being annihilated with the property increases. So we do it all. Greystone Insurance, tx.com is our website. And you can find me at L Stevens. That's LSTEPHENS at Greystone, GRASTONE, TX.com. And I'm based in Houston.
Yeah, well, and Lisa, I will just put a little shout out to the fact that Lisa has a restaurant and hospitality perspective. So I think that really is a very valuable thing for someone who is in this industry, because when they go to her for insurance, it's not general insurance she's talking to you about. She's talking to you about it from the lens of a restaurant or hospitality industry point of view. And I think that's very valuable. So anyhow, all right. Well, Lisa, thank you so much for joining us. This has been awesome. I so appreciate your time.
Okay, I thoroughly enjoyed it. Thanks
Thank
so
you. All
much.
right. Thank you. All right, everybody. If you've enjoyed this episode, please be sure to click the follow and the bell so you're alerted when we have new episodes. And I'll look forward to our next episode.